Welcome to this episode of the Heartbeat for Hire podcast. I feature Olympians, CEOs, disruptors, authors, professional athletes, and the best of the best, where they share their stories of resilience with my lens on leadership and culture. Let's get started. Greetings and welcome to this episode of the Heartbeat for Hire podcast. I got a fun one for you today. 3 things you're going to learn from this episode. Number 1, what employers need to be thinking about to retain their employees. Number 2, what is one thing an employee should be doing to get themselves ready for a promotion? Number 3, a few ways a leader could increase engagement with their team, something we talk a lot about on this show. Pete Schramm loves bringing people together. He's a serial entrepreneur, an award-winning speaker, and best-selling author, and he's passionate about connecting people and fostering intentional, sustainable, and meaningful relationships in the workplace. With a background in farming, yes, you heard right, and basketball, before traveling the world and getting into mechanical engineering and leadership roles at Lockheed Martin, QinetiQ, and ETC, where he built robots for the Army, Pete leverages his expertise to cultivate engagement through conversations as the founder of Lattitude, a leadership development and survey software. Companies use the tech to amplify employee retention and get folks promotion ready. Think Duolingo for career growth. He published his first best-selling book at the end of 2023 called Pathfinders, Navigating Your Career Map, with a personal board of advisors. You might find him doing some pottery or coaching basketball while not speaking or riding the Peloton. And if you want to ride with Pete, go find him at Schramm Fam. Is it Schramm Farm or
Schramm Farm.
Schramm Farm. Sorry. Welcome to the show, Pete.
Hey, what's up? Good morning. Hello, everybody. I'm happy to be diving in.
I'm so happy you're here. You've got a great story, and that's where I always like to start. So would you share a little bit of yours with our audience?
Yeah, definitely. So, if anybody took a look over at my LinkedIn, you say, wow, this guy's 6'8". Yeah, I am tall. I like to be tall. Lyndsay, there's this thing with tall people where you get asked these like 5, 6, 7 questions
Yes.
all the time, right? And so, my parents are not that tall, 5'5", and dad's 6'2", so he's above average. Yes, I enjoy it. I drive a truck. Yes, I played basketball, and we can get into some of the other ones along the way. But as you alluded to, grew up on a farm, Western PA, outside of Pittsburgh, college in DC, mechanical engineering, undergrad and grad school. I didn't know what I wanted to do upon graduation. So I'm like, let me figure out what one of the most transferable things is. And not easy by any means, but from there, went to work at Lockheed Martin. Absolutely loved my time at this big defense contractor. Really learned what good looks like from leadership development in some capacities. And, that laid the foundation for me. And I saw hey, here's what I want to be as I get into a leadership position. And here's some things that's not really my jam. So putting more, learnings into my toolbox along the way. I moved all around the country, went around the globe. So cool. And then, I was like, my boss told me to get some of these mentors. And I guess I need to go find a couple of mentors. So we'll get into some of that story. Transition from there to smaller defense contractors, building robots. Absolutely loved it, supporting the warfighter. And then COVID, everybody's, freaking out. And a lot of people got laid off, unfortunately. I decided to quit my job. And, great career path, trajectory, 6-figure salary, and leave DC, which was a happening place, back home to my parents' basement on the farm, Western PA, to build the business, follow the heart. So fast forward today, Lattitude is employee connection and development platform. So we do help organizations all across the country when it comes to employee connection, development, retention. So books out, pumped about that. Back in the Pittsburgh area. And actually, maybe we'll have time on the call to dive into a few fun phone calls I got this week of folks that got a copy of the book, said, hey, so-and-so, mutual connection, can you get me in touch with Pete? And they just shared how much help it provided to them. I'm like, what? Let's go. This is exactly why we do this. So
That's great.
it's just
I love that. I love when
others.
As a fellow author, when you get a call from someone saying that something that you wrote resonated with them,
Yeah.
that is one of the most meaningful things you can hear. So I'm really happy for you that you got that. So let's talk. Why don't we start there with career mapping? Because in sales, when I did that for more than a couple of decades, there isn't really a career path. There is, you are an individual contributor, and if you're really good, you go into management, and if you're really good, you become an executive, and that's your career path. Not very creative. And you might have different sales roles along the way, but that's kind of it. So, talk a little bit about the importance of a career map and why you care about it.
Yeah, let's start off with a story, right? If I want to get from point A to point B, maybe it's from Pittsburgh to Los Angeles, for example. I could probably figure out a way to assume the road signs aren't there. We don't have a GPS, right? So I could probably figure out I need to go from this direction to the opposite direction, right? Okay, I can get there. If I have a map and I can follow a little bit of a map, I'm probably going to get there a little bit faster. If I, have a GPS that's going to update and suggest different things to me, some tools and technology, that's going to optimize it even further. And if there's a couple of people that maybe have been on this path before and they say, "Oh my gosh, as you're driving there, you should stop at this restaurant. You should stay away from that place." So it can make that experience even better and more enjoyable and make you want to, even whenever you're, oh, I got 12, 14 hours to drive today. No, there's some really good stuff to hit along the way, right? Don't give up yet. So you just think about, we can all relate to something like that. Think of the career map as something we can do professionally, right?
Mm,
So it's where I've been, where I'm at, where I want to go. And our methodology doesn't talk about just the job and role and position, Lyndsay. We break it down into five different dimensions, with also the skills, the education, achievements and certifications and accomplishments, and then also some of the fun stuff. So whenever you think about, hey, you're in sales, well, what are some of the achievements you want to, hit next? And then after that, and then after that. And if you have a career map, hey, leaders out there, ask all the people on your team if they've put something together. You can go onto our website at Latitude and figure out, hey, you could download the worksheet, get a copy of the book. There's plenty of information in there as well. But once you have a plan, then you can share it with others, and it's something that people can give feedback on. But if I
mm.
come to you and I say, "Hey, Lyndsay, I want to be the, director of sales tomorrow," you're like, "And?" Right?
Yeah, that's great. Are you qualified? Um, that's cool. So I know that there are companies that would like to do this. They might not know how.
Mhm.
And what's something you would advise leaders? And this will take us into maybe a little bit of the engagement side of things, but what would you advise leaders to do to start building out these career maps? And, we talk about culture and leadership all the time on this show. It's really
Yeah.
important. And I think a lot of leaders think they're great leaders. They think their team is engaged. But when it comes down to brass tacks and they're on team calls and it's real quiet, they're not engaged. And we have a huge disengagement dilemma. I think I saw crazy numbers like $1 trillion deficit. It's really, really bad.
8.8 trillion around the globe now. It's gone
Yeah.
up a smidge.
Yeah. I mean, leaders need to be thinking about this. So talk a little bit about that, about
Yeah.
why you need to care as a leader.
So think of another story. I love these little stories, right? When I was back at Lockheed Martin, we did this thing called IRAD, Internal Research and Development, right? You've probably done this at different
Yeah.
places. This means we're innovating, we're thinking about what could be next, how can we stay ahead of the competition? We're investing in our products and our services. Cool. So that we stay ahead of the curve. What happens if we stop investing in our people, right? The internal people research and development. Well, they might not be as cutting edge. And
Mhm.
you know that the average L&D spend per person in the United States is about $1,400. I spoke at a local SHRM conference last week, and some people in the room said 2,000, 3,000, 5,000. I said, I want to go wherever you're working. If you're gonna, other people were like $10,000 a year, and some large organizations said zero. We spend $0 per person. And I just thought to myself, well, either you have a fantastic brand and these people are getting paid oodles of money, or some things aren't going to be going so super great over there. So the way we and the day that this podcast actually drops, I'm going to be speaking that night about change management and
Mhm.
how we can incorporate some change theories into practice. So if anybody's at the session, make sure you can say have a listen here, come over and say hello and see what you thought of this episode here. After you comment and thank Lyndsay on the post that goes up,
Yes, of
definitely
course.
that part first. But leaders from an engagement perspective, it's something that we can't afford not to do.
Yeah.
Right. If we do this, we want to start small. We want to explain. Maybe it's a survey that we're, putting out there. Maybe it's a mentorship program that we're putting out there. Maybe it's a buddy program. Maybe it's stay interviews, right? These things that we can all
Mm.
agree, yeah, that's pretty good in theory. Do I have enough time? So just a couple of tips, Lindsay, to hit on, right?
Can
Start
we
small. Share the why. Go ahead, go ahead.
No, could we pause a little bit on stay interviews? Because I know what
Yeah,
they are,
please.
but I think a lot of people are unfamiliar with them. And I liken a stay interview to a listening tour. But talk about what a stay interview is and why it's important.
Well, let's talk about an exit interview, then a stay interview, and then there was one that Julie from UKG gave a shout out to last week. But it was like a assimilation or an integration interview. So right at
Mm,
the beginning. So exit interview, right? This is whenever somebody's departing, they've already made the decision to leave the company. Hey, Lindsay, just tell me about why you left. Anything else that, kind of came to mind, feedback, things that we could potentially improve upon, as we keep moving forward. There's usually a poor process for that, and oftentimes the interview doesn't even take place.
most of the
But
time, it
it's
doesn't take place. Yeah.
right, wrong, or indifferent. So, and then once it does, right, what happens with that data? Are you looking at that data? Are you dispositioning some of those thoughts, ideas, comments from folks along the way and actually taking action? So that's the exit interview. Clearly, there's some opportunity there. Stay interview. This is one where we're slightly more proactive. So good job, everybody. And it's where, obviously stay versus exit. Hey, Lyndsay, you just got done with your performance review, a month, 2 months ago. This is a chat where, we just get in a room together and you talk about how things are going. Maybe I'm your HR business partner. Maybe I'm, somebody else in the HR team. I've also done stay interviews, not from HR, right?
Yeah.
But it's the idea that we talk about, how's it going? Why do you work here? Right? Why do you stay here? But also the start, stop, continue, shift. One of the, concepts from my book I tested out for years before it got into print. I ask you, hey, what should I start doing, stop doing, continue doing, shift the way I do it? I ask you, and then you ask me.
Mm,
And this isn't a gripe or a complaint session, but it's a safe space. And some of these things we might be able to implement and take action on, and some things we might have to go discuss with more
yeah.
people, and some things, we might, need to just get some more clarification on. The last piece of that integration, or, Julie, if you're listening to this, I'm sorry for if I butchered it, but it's as you're coming into the organization, what are you all about? I like to ask questions and I never had a name for it, but it's something that I've, done consistently. How do you like to be thanked? Praise in public or like, no way. Are you somebody that wants to come to a happy hour or would you rather go to a volunteer event? What's your, favorite color if we're to get you, some balloons for your birthday or something like that? Right? Do you, just some of those pieces. Have you had a mentor? You looking for a mentor? Let's talk about your career map. Those different parts. Sometimes you can do, Ashwin does a really good job on his podcast, Stand Out in 90. If you've seen that one, where it's as people are coming into the organization, what if we just did a quick selfie video so that they could share a little bit of who they are with the rest of the
Mm.
team? So just a
I
little
mean,
bit of thoughts and pieces there.
these are all really easy to do things and important. I know for me, exit interviews did not happen. And sometimes they happen, but the data that I gave didn't go anywhere. So pretty useless.
Yeah.
And if leaders are asking the questions that I always teach leaders to ask, how can I be the best manager for you? What do you think you're really good at? What would you like to improve upon? What do you think is going really well? You have to have these moments with your employees regularly. And I'm not talking forecast calls or regular business calls. You have to get to know them so you can advocate for them. And one thing we did really well at IBM was we had this executive interview kind of, I called it a culture of advocacy. So all the leaders had to be pretty secure that if I was going to go talk to some other leader outside of our organization, nobody was going to freak out. This was, I was learning something about them. They're learning something about me. I got a bunch of jobs through that process. And it's a really empowering thing and a way to keep the talent on your bench. So, super, super important stuff. So, what is one thing employees should be doing to get themselves ready for promotion? Maybe a couple things.
Yeah, it's to knock it out of the park in what you're doing right now. Uh, if you're trying to do letter D on your list of ABC, uh, and you say, "Hey, boss, check out this cool thing that I did, this stretch assignment," and your boss says, "Okay, but what about your actual work?" That's not great if you skip and you stretch before you do what you have to. So that's number one. Ask really good questions. I think that's the other piece, and think about if we do something or if something happens then X could be impacted, cost, technical, schedule. And if we don't do something, what could happen, positive or negative, risk and opportunities. There's plenty of trainings out there. You can go through a couple of, YouTube University, to get up and running a little bit. I think that's a big piece. I think to, be in sponge mode, right, and seek to understand and try to add value before you work on implementing change. And you have that, particularly in the younger, stages of your career, earlier stages of your career, you can kind of play dumb. Be like, hey, I'm new here. Is it all right if I, just pop into this meeting? Hey, would you mind if I, took your notes? Hey, can I help you putting those slides together? Hey, boss, is there anything else, that, maybe I could just look over your shoulder while
Take
you're
off your
working on
plate.
something? Or,
Yeah.
yeah, it's, just make your life a little bit easier. I already got my work done, and I had so and so review it, so I can go home, or if you need a little bit, out of the actually, I already am at home. I'll just close my I'll close my laptop, right? So thinking about that, but then also particularly early in your career and in mid-career and in late career, don't forget to continue trying to have those water cooler conversations, right? Latitude was started for this reason to make that a
Yep.
little bit easier, right? Bringing people together in the workplace. But that's something where even just a call yesterday, somebody said, "Hey, I think I've been out of the networking game for too long."
Mhm.
And I think folks will stop networking whenever they find a job.
Yep.
And that you don't have to always be looking for a job. It's to stay fresh of current events, to learn about different things, who you never
Love,
know.
Pete, I
Yeah.
love that you said that because I think so many people mistake their community for their company,
Mhm.
and you always have to be building community. That's
Yeah.
that's why I joined the Outlier Project. That's why I stay really, really connected to
That's
old
how we got
bosses and
connected.
old friends.
Yeah.
Right, right. And when you can have a place with like-minded people, it's always going to light your fire. It's always going to be the accountability partners you need. And yes, you could be at the coolest company in the world, but there is no such thing as career security. You have to build that for yourself. Or I should say job security. You have to build career security for yourself. And I think that's just something that people forget. They think, oh, I've got this new job. I'm going to have this whole new posse of people. So that's where I'm going to network. And don't miss that.
You can't miss out on that. It's almost like a sales funnel, right? I think of this and I like in building your personal board of advisors. So two other tips, right? Put together
Yes.
a career map, right? So think about where you've been, where you're at, where you want to go. You don't have to have all the answers, fill out the different columns. Buy the book, right? Read the book. It walks you through all the different pieces. So the career map, but then also the PBA, right? So think about who are those couple of different people that are on your personal board of advisors, those different folks surrounding you. But back to your piece there about you can't stop networking. So what happens, Lyndsay, whenever you got your sales pipeline and you stop prospecting and you stop for some period of time? At some point, that's going to trickle down,
Oh,
and
yeah.
you're going to say, "Oh my goodness, my pipeline, my funnel, what's happening here?" So if we stop planting those seeds, who knows, right? I met 3 years ago, and we just reconnected, hit it off, and now they may be coming onto my own personal board of advisors. But
Yeah.
it's just, hey, I like what you're up to. Now we have the power of, LinkedIn, so we can, peripherally, asynchronously be aware of what's
Yeah.
happening. So just a couple of things to think about.
Yeah, I love that. It's funny to me. I've coached so many people on LinkedIn, and when they come to me and they only have a couple hundred connections, I'm looking at them like, you've lived a lot of life. Like, where are your high school friends? Where are your college friends? Where are the people from your last jobs that you worked with? Like, you should be connected to all of those people. And they're like, oh, yes, I should. And I'm like, yeah, go get them. I mean, there's joy in connection. And I was just at a retreat, and one of my college buddies who I hadn't seen in 30 years, he was there. And it was such a thrill to reconnect with him and see what he's doing and support him and to have his support for what I'm working on. So, yeah, don't underestimate those connections. They're huge. So let's pivot a little to engagement. What
Hold on,
should,
before we pivot
oh,
on engagement,
yes.
are we able to maybe talk for a quick second about what you're working on?
Sure, we can. It was
Because
announced on
it because
another
it it,
podcast.
link, it links in really nicely. I think it'll give the audience a little bit more of an idea of why you and I hit it off,
Yes,
call one, call
yes.
two. And I think that shows a little bit more about kind of who you are, who I am, of
Yeah.
just, hey, we'll give it a shot.
Yeah,
And then like,
let's do it.
ooh,
I'm glad
yeah.
you said that. So, for those that don't know, it's all been all over LinkedIn for the last day. But for those that don't know, I have accepted a role as the Chief Revenue Officer for a company called Intree. And Intree was really founded around working through resumes and this applicant tracking system, otherwise known as ATS. And there's immense bias in this system. And so my CEO, Jennifer Sethry, and I had been working closely together since July, and we built out this career catalyst boot camp for job seekers, and it went off splendidly. Amazing results, fantastic testimonials. But in the time between July and September, when we were doing our second boot camp, all these companies started reaching out to us to say, I'd like to use you as our outplacement alternative. And outplacement services are done when someone's laid off or someone loses their job or a resource action. It's what a company pays for to help them find their next job. And they have to pay unemployment insurance. It's expensive. So the fact that we can do it quickly makes a really big difference. So I was telling this to Pete as before we got on live, and he was like, "Wait a minute, we've got some stuff we can work on together." So Pete, take it away.
Yeah, well, there's lots more ahead, and it comes down to how do we invest in our people and give them what
Yeah,
they need now.
yeah,
So if you think about all those different pieces, a lot of folks need tips, tools, reminders, nudges. Hey, boss, you told me to do this leadership development thing. What the heck does that mean? So the content
yeah.
curriculum that you're talking through, hey, you told me to get a mentor. What do I discuss with my mentor? Right? I'm sure you guys hit on some of that. We hit on some of that. Hey, what do I show my mentor? Mentors. I read this stinking Pathfinders book. Now I got to find multiple mentors. Hey, boss, I have these couple of questions that I want to ask you. Is that cool? Right? Who else could be, guiding me along the way? So it's really just how do we make it simple for organizations to invest in
Right.
their people, show the return on investment, because you've probably seen, I don't know, dozens, maybe up to hundreds of, snake oil,
Oh yeah.
solutions, SOS, but over the years. So,
SOS. It's great.
yep, you
Oh,
get it. You get it.
and let me just say for anyone listening, the Heartbeat for Hire podcast is not going away. That is one thing that is absolutely staying. I will continue to do speaking engagements, but the rest of my effort will be around Intree and supporting that mission. So, super happy to keep this brand and keep this show and have people like Pete. You may see a little more job seeker centric stuff with our guests, but right now we're booked well into February of next year. So, rest assured, the guests keep on coming, and they are going to be bringing tons and tons of value. So now let's pivot a little to engagement because this is a problem. And I've led people. I know the minute I have lost my people, I can tell by the down faces, the not on camera, the minimal effort, like baseball hat low, hoodie. I'm here because I have to be here, but I'm not going to say anything kind of vibe. And that isn't really great and it's not going to produce great results. So talk about engagement from your perspective.
Yeah, not all engagements created equal,
Yeah.
and not everybody's going to have a great day every day.
Nope.
So the first thing is to make sure we get more of the full story whenever it's possible, and that we're there for our folks. You mentioned earlier on the one-on-ones and the stay interviews, the piece of not just talking during a program management review. Hey, Lyndsay, can I message you, on Teams here, and that'll just be our one-on-one. Yeah, you're really building trust and
No.
respect and rapport with me, boss. I,
Yeah, that
hugely
sounds great.
appreciate that. Think about as managers, how many times do you, oh, let's push our one-on-one. Oh, let's push our one-on-one. Hey, can we maybe, not do this week? I'm just super busy, right? I've been at fault for that in the
Yeah.
past, but it's, we are what we repeatedly do. And I'm going to reference, one of the analogies from Walt Disney World, right, in my, presentation tonight on the when this is aired, right? And we talk about habits take 66 days to build. And if I see somebody do a good thing or three or a bad thing, three different times, then I'm going to start to think, I'm not going to have the whole habit, but I'm going to start to say, hey, that's a leader. And if they're in that high up position, then I maybe I can be in a high up position. And if I do that bad thing or that good thing, maybe that could be the
Mm.
piece. So think about from the engagement perspective, it's also not one size fits all, right? Look at the tag on the back of your organization and think about, engagement surveys. What are you guys doing from that perspective? Are you sharing the results? Are you sharing the next steps? Are you taking action? We talked about
Mhm.
some of this before, Lyndsay, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes the worst thing you can do is to deliver a survey and then, believe it or not, an organization that I was with before shared a portion of the survey results, the only partially good ones. And you're kind of like, huh, that makes no sense, guys. Think about how you can invest in your people and how they can invest in you. We talked about the career map as a great opportunity. Share yours as a leader and ask them about theirs. And, really think about the next steps for those individuals. How can they, start to take a little bit of work off your plate? Maybe
Yeah.
put a couple of stretch assignments on their
Well,
career map for them.
you just hit on one of my favorite power skills, which is delegation. And
Mhm.
delegation is a really useful tool. It doesn't just mean I'm handing off my crap to other people and
Yep.
I'm wiping my hands of it. This means you are giving something to someone to let them shine. And if they
Yep.
fail, you, as the leader, will take the blame. It is your
Right.
responsibility. You are never throwing your people under the bus. That will fracture trust faster than you can say trust. Anyway, okay, let's shift gears again. What inspires you?
Ooh, the opportunity to better the lives of those around me. That's the part that makes me jump out of bed in the morning, stay up till too late at nighttime. But that's really it. And it might sound really odd, but it's that opportunity. Some folks like going to the beach, some folks like, skiing. I love helping people.
Yeah.
And even just yesterday, there was a couple of, phone calls that I got and they said, hey, can you, run some ideas by you on this career pathways, right? Mentioned, alluded to that earlier. And the way I approach it is, hey, guys, I don't have all the answers, but I'll share what, has kind of worked for me and what I've heard over the years. Oh, by the way, I've done this almost 400 times. And Lyndsay, at some point, we might have to talk about how I monetize for that because I'm realizing that it's a fun thing and
Yeah.
people find a lot of value in it.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll just like test drive the revenue generation on that aspect.
Okay.
Um, that's what inspires me is the opportunity
I love
because
it.
so many people invested in me and they took a shot on this farm boy from Western Pennsylvania and said, hey, it seems like he's, going to be on time. He's going to, have some questions ready to ask me. He's going to follow up. He's going to say thank you. He's not going to, be rude. So they took a shot on me, and how do I pay that forward? So it's that opportunity, and it's what those individuals can then do, paying it forward. This
Yeah,
ripple effect can keep going and going and going, and get
I
up to
agree.
become a large wave.
I agree. So, tell me, what would you like your legacy to be?
Hmm. I think if people are able to have that mindset of we, not me, and to get past the blocker of reaching out to ask for advice, right? Networking doesn't have to, meeting new people doesn't have to be transactional, right? Do a selfie video on LinkedIn. Say, hey, here's who I am. Here's what I'm trying to accomplish. You probably talk a little bit about this, for the job seekers, especially. Man, I don't have a job right now. Man, I don't really have, I'm down on my stuff.
Yeah.
But if you don't ask for help and put yourself out there, then yeah, last time I checked, job requisition is not going to come knocking on its door, on
No.
your door, right? So
Mhm.
that's really the big piece is, go ahead, take a shot, take action. People want to help you. And if the Pathfinders, methodology can continue to be helpful to folks, guys, go have a read of the book. This is the Pete copy, Lyndsay. So you see that this is the one I can't give to people. It has
Yeah.
lots of notes and stickies in here.
Yeah.
So we're well underway making notes for the second edition. So
Nice.
please read it, share thoughts, comment on this post after you've thanked Lyndsay. Then, one takeaway that you got from this. Or something that we missed, right? That's also something I like to talk about on the podcast
Yeah.
is what other question was untapped because you're coming over to our podcast in the next couple of weeks.
Yes.
So yeah.
Awesome. And Pete, how can people find you? I mean, we've held the book up a few times. Can we get it on Amazon?
Yeah, on Amazon.
Perfect.
I think we'll put the link in the show notes, but you can always find me on LinkedIn, Pete Schramm, Schramm. Yes, it's German. Yeah.
And website for Latitude?
GoLattitude.com. GoLattitude.com. And
Beautiful.
that links right over from my LinkedIn as well. And Lyndsay, here's a cool one that one of my friends' wives came up with. An easy way to remember how to pronounce my name is with two emojis. So see if you can find any other guests that can share their name with two, maybe even three emojis is okay, but a peach and a ram. Go ahead, say it quick.
Pete Schramm.
Peach ram.
Cute.
Hmm?
I mean, that could be confusing, but I like it. I like it. Pete, you have been a blast. Thank you for being a great guest on the show. Guys, go get Pete's book. If you are looking to up your engagement with your employees or get your people ready for promotions, there's tons of great advice in there. If I can be of help, if you know any job seekers, send them my way. Would love to work with you. And if you liked what you heard, go subscribe to the YouTube channel or leave a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. They are hugely meaningful to us podcasters. They make a difference. They help us continue to do the show and bring you all guests, great guests like Pete. Pete, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks, Lyndsay. Thanks, everybody, for listening.
Everybody, go have a great day. Lead with heart. Take care of yourselves. Are you ready to elevate your leadership style and create an exceptional workplace that stands out from the crowd? I'm here to introduce you to a game-changing resource that will transform the way you lead and shape your company culture. It's time to embrace the power of top-down culture. This practical guide empowers your leadership for lasting success, helping you create a workplace where everyone thrives. Get top-down culture today, and let's reshape the future of leadership together. Thanks for listening to this episode of Heartbeat for Hire. I hope you enjoyed what you heard. If you did, please subscribe to my YouTube channel or consider leaving a 5-star review and a great rating at Spotify or Apple. Thank you so much for your support. Have a great day.